This podcast is for a mature audience and may be viewed as inappropriate or insensitive to some.
Listener discretion is advised. The intention is to share conversations like and unlike-minded individuals
as they try to be the best them they can be in a life full of challenges, searching for love, acceptance, and positivity.
Call 669-241-1422 and share yourself, or catch up with Sweet Baby Jay for an anonymous face-to-face interview.
Feel free to call in with any questions, stories, thoughts, or anything you would love to talk about and share.
Nothing is off the table when talking sweet with Sweet Baby Jay.
Good day, good sir. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
It's always a wonderful day to be me, Sweet Baby Jay. How's it being you?
Great today.
Well, hey. Yeah, sometimes it's there's ups, there's downs, there's moments of loneliness and moments where we just want everyone to get away. That's just the days of Corona.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Man. Can't get enough of people, but don't want them around.
That's 100% the way that we're living these days. So what's going on, man? You are here talking sweet with Sweet Baby Jay. I always say I like to keep it anonymous, No need to share a name, but, everyone has their preference.
It really doesn't matter to me. There's nothing in here that, having worked in the substance abuse industry, nothing my mom or family wouldn't know. I'm pretty much an open book. I think that's the best way we can help others is not by keeping secrets, because when we feel alone, we feel shameful.
Wow.
And, that shame keeps us sick for much longer than we need to be.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I see. So you brought up substance abuse. You've had some experience with this here.
Yeah. So, for me, it started pretty young. And it quickly progressed. There's some people that can party forever before they have an issue or drink or whatever. And for me, it escalated pretty quick. And
how
was,
young?
So I would say I was a full-blown addict from the first time I had a sip of alcohol or any sort of drug entering my system, which is it jived with me.
So how old were you when you had your first drink?
I was 13, 14.
Wow. You surpassed. I didn't have my first drink till I was 21. I'm such a lame.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, And being in high school and partying at the time that it was during the mill opiate epidemic, And so we didn't think anything of it. Popping pills, drinking, smoking marijuana. It was just part of how we partied.
You were popping pills in high school?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was made to feel almost like a way to have fun. It was cheap. It made me feel good. It was easier to get than alcohol.
What pills were easier to get than alcohol?
Oh yeah.
Really? How was that? How were you getting them?
Well, just people I'd met, buying marijuana or whatever it was. I didn't know a lot of people that were older than 21 when I was 16. But I sure knew a lot of people that smoked pot, and those people knew other people.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy how times have changed. Going back even 20 years, opiates and pills weren't abused like they are today, and it's become such a major issue for kids, teenagers, young adults, and, all ages.
One day I was actually I was leaving work, I believe. This is when I was working in Manhattan, and these two young ladies were sitting next to me, crushing up pills, and
yep.
they were crushing them up and sniffing them, and I'm sitting there, and I was like, "What?" I mean, they were doing it as if they were eating a banana. And
yeah,
I'm like, "Yo, what are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Yeah, I don't recall what pill it was, but they got it from their parents' medicine cabinet, and they were here sniffing it." And they really, as I was sitting there next to them on the train, couldn't believe it. These girls were attending like one of the best prep schools in New York City, the most expensive, and they asked me, "Would I like some. And
Wow.
I'm like, what in the hell? Like and they were so nonchalant about it. I could not believe it. They did not seem like they were
Yep.
in the demographics that would be entertaining such activity in a public forum.
And I think that the idea of what that demographic looks like has kind of changed as it has hit a lot of, the high-end prep schools, colleges. I think addiction had such a stigmatism. It was associated with poor people or immoral or people with a lack of willpower. And we realize that's not the case. It affects everyone. It doesn't really discriminate.
Yeah, I agree. But there's always that catalyst. What was the catalyst for you that made you enter into that lifestyle, other than just partying? Was it something larger, than something deeper than that, or like that pushed you towards that?
I think there's a common theme with a lot of people that struggle with addiction, and that's constantly feeling like there's something missing, and that they're not good enough, yet they're better than everyone else around them. And it's like this inferiority, superiority complex. And so, I need constant validation from everyone and everything. And I need to feel good 24/7 because I didn't feel good inside. But no one can make me feel good because no one was on my level.
So, it was a bit of a peer pressure type thing, would you say?
I think it was more wanting to feel different because I didn't like the way I felt.
Okay. I can see.
No one put a gun to my head and said, you need to take this, or you need to do this drug, or you need to drink this, or you're not cool.
How did you feel?
So, I mean,
like, what did that make you feel like when you were, I guess, getting high?
It kind of made me feel okay for a moment. And that's the best way I can describe it. I went from not feeling okay to using drugs or abusing something and feeling all right.
You mean emotionally, feeling emotionally all right?
Emotionally all right.
Wow.
And it's one thing I've found is I crave spirituality.
Oh.
And I crave a higher power. I crave something to fill a void inside of me. And I really use drugs as a way to feel okay rather than seeking healthier means. And it got to a point where I wanted to stop. I didn't want to do what I was doing, but I couldn't stop, even if
it took control. It took control over you.
Yes, absolutely.
So, the reason why I ask, how did that feel? I think we've all seen the commercials, don't do drugs. At least, I have from the 80s. We've seen in the movies. I think of Pookie and New Jack City. I see these exactly. I see this stuff, and for me personally, I cannot see myself doing this kind of stuff and being in that character. But what? And I always ask the question, like, you see, as someone that has used and you've seen the extreme of how people can get, like, how do you still make that choice to use?
Well, once you cross a certain point, it's no longer a choice. It's not do I want to do this today? It's like the addiction's in the driver's seat. It's like, all right, we're doing this. You're coming along for the ride.
I see. Wow, that's pretty scary. One of my neighbors.
There is that aspect of it, but it quickly becomes not fun when you're losing.
Yeah, here on Talkin Sweet, I like to ask those questions that I guess people don't generally ask, or those things that people want answers to. But like, what was the worst thing that you ever found yourself doing in order to tend to your habit?
So at one point, the government kind of shut down a lot of the pill mills, and all that was left was heroin. And so I found myself doing heroin before fentanyl came out, just to get by, to replace the pills that were now scarce or very expensive. There was this cheap street drug that was exactly the same thing, but stronger. And so I went down that path for a while.
Wow. So heroin,
and I think.
No. So you said heroin was at one point the drug of choice for you?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that switch ravaged my life. I went from 150, 145 pounds to 108 pounds in a month and a half.
In a month and a
Uh,
half?
Yep, I wasn't eating just because it makes you not hungry. So
Wow.
or it made me not hungry. So I wouldn't be hungry. I would go 2 days without eating, come to from being high for 2 days, be like, oh, I haven't eaten in a couple of days. I'd eat a small portion because I didn't want to spend my money on food. I'd rather be getting high.
So
And then,
the
just
drug
eat
was
enough
more
to get
valuable
by.
than food.
It was more valuable than anything.
Oh my gosh.
When my addiction was in control.
Yeah.
Now that I'm clean and sober, I wouldn't trade the life that I have for anything. There's not a drug or feeling in this world that is worth trading the life that I have received since getting clean and sober.
So, it's crazy, right? The reason why I say it's crazy is because in some way, shape, or form, the life that you have now was there, I would think, before you started, but then you went onto this path, and now you have this, you speak with this strong belief that the life you have now is far better than anything that you entertained in the past. Do you
Absolutely.
do you feel that there was a journey that you needed to be on in order to lose and in order to gain back, in order to appreciate where you're at?
Absolutely. I don't think I would appreciate the things and people and the love that I have in my life unless I lost it all. I kind of am the person that I need to learn on my own. There was those ads like, don't do drugs, they're bad, they'll make you terrible, you're going to want to shoot yourself, like that marijuana ad. I did it, and I was like, oh, that's a lie. And then I had to experience that loss. At one point, my mom looked me in the eyes and said, you're not my son. I don't know who you are.
Wow.
And I can't be a part of your life anymore.
So how did you feel how do you feel that it impacted your family, like your mother, your father, your brothers, sisters? How did it impact your family members? Because I don't think you were thinking on how it impacted them.
No, absolutely. The mindset when people are using drugs is, I'm the one using, why does anyone else care? It's only hurting me. But what I didn't know at the time is that my mom prayed for my life every day because she didn't know if it was going to be my last.
Wow. So you
I
knew
miss
that drugs were
my
hurting
brother.
you, though.
Yes, absolutely. But I didn't care because I thought it was only me. I didn't understand why other people cared. Because I didn't care that it hurt me. So why would they?
So it surpassed the love that people felt for you. You weren't concerned about that.
Absolutely. I didn't understand why anyone would love me.
That's pretty deep.
If I can't understand why you would love me, if I don't love myself and I don't believe I'm lovable, I can't believe you love me and I can't accept your love.
But
so now you're saying you care about me and you're concerned. That's wrong to me. It's just not true in my mind.
But you see it now. You see where that love was there for you, that care and compassion for your best, for your well-being. You see why people cared for you not to be doing what you were doing.
Absolutely. And now I got several years under my belt in recovery, and I have people I care about that relapse or are getting high or pass away, and I'm starting to understand the heartbreak. Because a lot of those people are family to me that my family felt. The anxiety, the worry, the shame, the guilt.
So you say
could I have done
7? What? You say 7 years, right? I didn't mean to cut you, but so that means,
almost 5.
Almost
Several.
5. Okay, so when you were using, let's say when Amy Winehouse passed away, you were using.
Yeah.
When you hear of someone famous, someone that everyone knows passes away from using drugs, how did that make you feel at the time? And now in reflection, do you see something different?
Yeah, I think at the time I thought they couldn't handle their drugs. They got a bad batch. They did too much. They have no self-control. That would never happen to me. Those are the kind of thoughts, and then there's also the thought of oh man, they must have some good stuff. I wonder where they got it from.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's pretty common among people who struggle with addiction when someone dies of a.
So when someone dies from it, there are people out there thinking like that. Where did they get? Is it?
Where did they get that?
Wow, because they're always chasing that high. I heard that you never can achieve that first high ever again.
No, that absolutely not. But it's definitely chasing that feeling, and it's hard to describe what that high is, but it's more of chasing the way it made you feel than the high itself. It's feeling different, and addiction is a disease of feeling, and that's the complicated part, because it doesn't really matter what you're using. If it's changing the way you feel, you can't understand and accept how you feel. You can't stop using. You're an addict. It doesn't matter if it's alcohol, gambling, women,
sex,
men, whatever it is. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's always chasing that feeling. Okay.
So, just I actually know, your mother as of course
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and one thing she did tell me is that your brother was really there for you, and really
Absolutely.
really put himself out there to really be supportive on your road to recovery. How do you feel about the way that it impacted a sibling, and did that make you guys closer now? Is he more protective of you? Does he look out for you, like, to make sure that you stay on the right path?
So I got to unpack that for a second. So I guess it started, he was really involved in my life after my father and mother separated. My father wasn't really around, and being significantly older than me, he was, like a parental figure. And so I think for him, it was one of the hardest parts. My last overdose before I got sober or clean, was 6 days before his birthday.
Wow.
7 days before his birthday. And, he was absolutely distraught, but he never gave up on me either. So I remember being in detox and being on the phone with him, and him saying, like, "You're kind of an a-hole, but I still love you. And I just want you to get better. And if there's anything I can do to help, I'll help." And now he's absolutely one of my best friends.
I'm going to have to say, I applaud him for that, because, I think it takes a certain level of just effort, a certain level of push through it. I do not know, and not that I ever want to know, how it would be like to deal. Yeah. I don't think I could actually go through that. So even for your brother to, you stick by someone because you love them, but that is.
I think the crazy part to me is generally anger is a secondary emotion. So when we're angry at someone, especially who's struggling with addiction, it's because we're hurt, we're scared, we're frightened. And he was able to kind of cut through all that BS secondary emotions and get down to the core and show concern and love.
The nitty gritty.
And, today, like I said, he's one of my best friends. We talk all the time. We work together. We live together.
Nice.
We can rely on each other for anything.
That's beautiful.
And it's nice that now I can be there for him, and I don't need people to be there for me all the time.
That's good. You're more of you find yourself wholer these days than you were in the past.
Absolutely. And one thing I could never do in active addiction is have relationships with people. Because relationships are give and take. They're not always 50-50. Sometimes they're 80-20. Sometimes they're 90-10. But all I did was take. I never gave anything. And one thing recovery has allowed me to do is give of myself and my time and my love. And I'm able to have relationships with people, like my brother or my mom or whoever.
So you're seeing now that sometimes the relationships are seasonal. Sometimes they're stormy. Yeah. Sometimes they're sunny. Sometimes even when it's snowing, you have to enjoy the snow. You have to enjoy the rain. The only way, and this is just my mindset, and for me, it's gotten me through so many different types of relationships. But in order to enjoy all the beautiful things that we experience in life, you have to you have to also appreciate the bad. The only way we appreciate a sunny day is because we've been through rainy days.
Absolutely, and it's kind of funny. I always refer back to this, especially with guys and men and women early in recovery. Is 50 Cent in a song said you have to experience, or you have to have pain to experience joy.
Yeah.
something like that. I can't remember the exact
No,
quote off
that
the top of my head, but
it's said
it's
beautifully. It's
yin
the
and
truth.
yang.
It's the truth. So, are you in a relationship, like in a romantic relationship? Are you dating, married, engaged? Any of those?
Um, so I met a young woman when I was getting clean, and she was as well.
Mm.
And I was in a long-term relationship for several years, but one thing I found is in recovery, it can be so important to kind of be single and to really just focus on ourselves, because there's a lot of twisted mentality and sick thinking, and it goes deeper than just the drugs
Mm-hmm.
and alcohol that we have to work on.
Yeah.
And so, I've dated, I've been in relationships, but my primary focus is staying clean and then doing right by the people I've wronged every day. And if something happens, it happens, but it's not like a compulsive thing that I feel I need in my life
Nice.
anymore.
So you are definitely on a journey to a more righteous living.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I appreciate. So the young lady that you're dating now, you both went through recovery at the same time?
So we actually broke up a little bit ago, but yeah, I dated someone in recovery, and I found that if I hadn't worked on myself, I don't have a lot to give someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be in a healthy relationship when someone's not healthy. So we separated, took some time apart, and realized, love can replace drugs. If
Another
used in
addiction.
healthfully.
Another addiction.
Absolutely. So for the last year or so, I've just been focusing on myself
Ain't nothing wrong with
and
that.
my growth.
Let me tell you something. I mean, listen, we've spoken in the past, and listen, I don't know who loves me more than me. I have a beautiful wife and kids, love them all, but I find it difficult to love anyone else unless you first love yourself. You have to.
Absolutely.
Because if not, you become more of a burden.
Yeah. Absolutely. It becomes a neediness, an emotional neediness, and that's one thing. It took me several weeks, I think probably 2, maybe 3 years of recovery to figure that one out. If I don't love myself, you can't love me.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, a lot of addiction boils down to a lack of self-love. If I loved myself, I wouldn't have been putting those drugs in my body. If I loved myself, I could have accepted the love of my family and could have accepted help a lot sooner.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And it's got to come from within.
So let me ask you this question, though, because when you, when dating someone who is also going through the same process, are there more stressors in that? Like, you're looking out for them, they're looking out for you. Someone may slip a little bit and you're trying to be strong for yourself, but this person needs some support. That seems to be sort of stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, at least for me, as far as dating people in recovery, if someone's relapsing or dating, really they have 2 options. One, we break up, love them from a distance. If they're ready to get back on the right track, I'll help. The second one is, I'll take you to rehab right now, and you can get 30 days under your belt, and then we'll separate. You can take time for yourself, but a lot of that comes down to when you get some more time when people get more time under their belt, picking healthier partners. So it's hard to relapse when you're healthy.
So when you're, let's say if you, down the road, you meet someone that has not been of that lifestyle, right? And this person, you find this person to be the one. They balance you out. Moderate stress. We can never say no stress because all relationships are stressful. They're give and take. But would you let that person know that, listen, this has been a part of my life, my past, something that I need you to look out for, and if you see me slipping, I need you to guide me in the right path?
Absolutely, and maybe that's why I haven't always been that successful in relationships in recent years. But I'm always straightforward about that, because I think if I can be honest about where I've come from and how I've succeeded in recovery, because I believe I'm a miracle not just a statistic. I can help destigmatize addiction.
Yeah.
And they might know someone, they might have a family member that, not. I think it's a little bit more prevalent than it used to be, and if I can personally, little by little, help break down that shame as a culture, as a country, do my part, I'm always going to do that.
Well, I'm going to have to say I 100% appreciate you for talking sweet with Sweet Baby Jay. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you on this incredibly important issue. I'm always about having fun. I love to see smiles on people's faces as they become the best them that they can be. But I see that with this issue, not only do you want to be the best yourself, to be the best you that you can be, but you are also wanting that of everyone else, everyone going through the struggle.
Absolutely. Everyone who struggles with addiction, we're in it together.
Yeah.
And if anyone's listening and struggling, I want them to know they're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that, we didn't touch on, but I'm fairly young. I got clean when I was 21.
Wait a minute. So you got clean while I just started having drinks. Holy shit.
Yep. A month and a half after my 21st birthday, I got clean and sober, and only by the grace of God, my higher power, or whatever you want to call it. And, in a few months, I'll have 5 years.
Wow. And this is another reason why I really felt it important to have this conversation with you when I started off saying that there's no demographics, there's no, economic background or anything that you can stigmatize anyone and say, these people would do it, that person would do it. I went out with a young lady. This is many years back. I actually met her on a dating website. And come to find out, she was actually a physician that I worked with. And we went out. She wanted to go for a ride on a motorcycle. I was like, sure, let's meet up here. We went to her house, to her apartment. And while we were walking to her apartment, she was on the phone with somebody. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is over. No biggie for me. I really don't care. And she leaves me at her apartment, comes back and throws 2 little bags on her coffee table. And I'm sitting there like, wow. Is this a joke? Like, what's going on here? She starts crushing this stuff up. And I'm still sitting there like, she's playing. She's playing. I did not take it serious until she actually went and cut a straw and started snorting all that. And it was disappearing like a vacuum. Holy shit.
Wow.
I was really like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it blew my mind because not only of what was happening, and I've never actually seen anyone do it in front of me, but she changed into a totally different person almost instantly. And the things that she was requesting for me to do to her, I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Wow. Yeah, I couldn't. No, go ahead.
Doesn't discriminate, and that's a stigma that definitely needs to be broken in this country. Because we marginalize groups of people based on addiction and the substance they are using, and that's just not the case anymore. Yeah. And it never really was.
Well, there was a documentary on Netflix, getting over a scandal, a drug scandal or something like that, where there was a young lady that was testing drugs for people that were arrested. But she started.
Yeah, and she was using them.
She was using them. Holy shit. I was watching that like, you have got to be kidding me. She said she started actually cooking crack on the job. I couldn't believe it. And this was a very smart young lady that was doing her thing in life. And, it just, for whatever reason, drugs took control.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it will. Every time.
Well, and that's every reason to stay away. Listen, brother, I really appreciate you talking sweet with Sweet Baby Jay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, if anyone ever wants to do an anonymous interview, you can always hit us up at 669-241-1422. You are talking sweet with Sweet Baby Jay, and I 100% appreciate you.